This is the Mooncool TK1 folding electric trike, and today we're going to review it from the perspective of a potential bikepacking platform. Trikepacking? We'll unbox it, take a look at the specs, take it out for a range test as a heavier rider, and think about how best to actually use it for adventuring. Shout out to Mooncool for sending me this to review. So I won't bury the lead, this thing actually really did impress me. This is my first electric trike, and if they're all at least this good, it's a seriously slept on PEV category. There was a few hiccups, I'm not going to glaze it for this entire video. There was a very surprising learning curve, and as a bikepacking platform, well, let me just say you're probably going to be seeing a lot more of this thing on the channel. This thing arrives in a big-ass, ridiculous, oversized box, and getting this thing into my apartment was fun. There was some assembly required, but it's honestly not as bad as it looks. There's some detailed assembly instructions in a provided guide, and as someone who hasn't assembled a bike before, it was pretty clear. There was only two issues that I had during assembly. The first was that they didn't include the bolt needed to attach the headlight to the front basket, so no front light for me, I guess. The other is that the provided tool set was missing the size 14 wrench, which was needed for removing the spacer bolt in the front forks. Aside from the trike parts themselves, there's a box containing all of the important extras, like your water bottle holder, a 2-amp charger with a standard 2.5mm DC jack, meaning it's compatible with aftermarket chargers, a cool little catalog of Mooncool's other models, the front headlight, which again I can't use, a cargo net for the back basket, every tool you need to work on the bike except that one missing wrench size, the front wheel's quick release axle, some zip ties for cable management, a portable bike tool, some cable sleeves, and of course the user manual. The TK1 has a 696 watt-hour 48-volt battery which claims 56 kilometers of range throttle only, which sounds like Fantasyland, right? But wait until the end of my range test. The trike has a 36-inch wheelbase with 20-inch by 3-inch tires, not quite 4-inch fat bike territory, but with 3 wheels instead of 2. That's still a hair more contact patch than my fat tire e-bike. It uses a twist throttle on the right handlebar. It's got a 500-watt motor which powers both wheels in the rear, which I do appreciate 2-wheel drive. I'm not sure if that's the standard with trikes, but I do prefer it. It only has a single-speed chain, but we don't do pedaling here on Mike in the Woods. We go throttle only. It's a folding style trike, so it's supposed to be portable, but nah, it's a brick even when folded. Well, alright, let's take this thing out for a test to test the range, the top speed, hill climbs, all that good stuff. This is actually the first electric trike I've ever ridden, so when you listen to my review, do keep that in mind. It's very counterintuitive trying to steer this thing. So I was trying to steer it, and naturally I want to lean in the direction that I'm steering, but because it's a trike, not a two-wheeler, you can't do that. And so I get this weird opposite sensation where it feels like I'm actually steering the opposite direction that I want to go. It's going to take some getting used to, for sure. I have to fight every instinct I have in terms of balance. It's actually kind of weirdly difficult. Okay, all right, okay. If you've ridden bikes your whole life and you suddenly switch to one of these, man, it is very, very difficult. Your body does not want to listen to what your brain is telling it. It's weird. Like, my body just naturally wants to lean, and the trike's like, nope, we're not doing that. It's so weird. And so you feel like you need to lean even more, and then it works against you even more. It's so weird. Okay, I'm slowly but surely getting the hang of it. Yeah, case in point, I started coming down this hill here. I leaned forward to get my GoPro out of the front basket, and then my brain wanted to steer away from this curb. And then because I'm not used to riding this thing yet, I wound up slamming right into it. So sorry, Mooncool, but it's already a little bit scuffed up. I'm starting to learn what it is that it takes to make this thing steer. Why it's so difficult when you're used to riding a normal bike, I figured it out. It's when you steer a normal bike and you lean, your handlebars naturally want to turn in the direction that you're turning. And so you actually have to push. If you're turning right, you have to push against the handlebar in order to not completely spin out. But with a trike, it doesn't have that, and it's actually the exact opposite. If you want to turn right, you have to pull. You have to pull on the handlebar. Sorry, Mooncool, but your trike's about to get kind of dirty here. Oh, okay. Time for the single track test. And this is the one downside to trikes being used as a bikepacking platform. Your 2 rear wheels, they're not sitting on the single track, so they're just kind of in the ruts on the sides of the trail here. So it's fine when the path has enough clearance on either side like this one does, but if you're on a particularly overgrown path, the TK1 might not make it through. Like this is actually pretty good. I was actually expecting it to be a little bit worse than this in terms of being able to get through here. I don't want my range test to be all low speed stuff, so let's Let's open her up and get a full speed test. So we're at about 13, 14 miles an hour right now. This isn't really the type of platform to be going high speed, but you know, just part of the test. Let's do a high speed run and see what kind of trouble we can get ourselves into. Come on, let's hit 16. We're hovering at around 15.4, 15.6. So 15 miles an hour. That's about the upper limit of how fast you're gonna be able to go on this thing. We've hit 23.59 kilometers an hour as our maximum speed. Unless you really know what you're doing, I'd say that's more than fair. I did attach the provided water bottle holder, which you'll appreciate this. It's the perfect size to hold a 1 liter smart water bottle. Oh, which is already warm as piss. All right, we're coming up on the hill that I always do my hill climb tests on. So let's see. 12. We dipped down to about 12.5 miles an hour at the slowest. One thing where electric trikes actually kind of exceed is their stability on loose surfaces. With the e-bike, if my rear wheel spins out from under me, I risk fishtailing, and that's a great way to go down hard. All right, this would be a tight fit even for the e-bike, but we're gonna try it with the trike and see how far we get before I deeply regret my decisions. So let's do this. Oh, it's a crawl, but we're making it through. And like I said, because this thing is so stable at low speeds, you can crawl through here at a super low speed, nice and safely, and not actually have to worry about your balance. You know what? I was initially thinking that the trike was going to be absolutely terrible for these overgrown single tracks. It's actually not. I would actually prefer this trike. Like, look at this. I'm just cruising through here, like slowly to be sure, but you know, safely. I don't feel like I'm gonna tip over. I don't know where the trail goes, but we're gonna, oh, there we go. Okay. Welcome to Mike in the Woods, guys. Okay. Excuse me, Mr. Tree. Oh, over the tree. Okay. Just riding that brake as we go down a bit of a hill. Give it some beans as we break through this little other side here. Oh, we couldn't quite make it up that hill. Had to give it a little bit of juice on the pedals there. We're doing some proper trail riding now. Oh man. Whee! We're going like 2 miles an hour, ultra slow, nice and slow. Just making sure we don't lose track of the trail because it is so overgrown in here that that's a real possibility. Like when I say this trail is overgrown, I mean this trail is overgrown. You can barely see the bike in front of me. It's like 3 meters in front of me. Yeah. So I don't think Mooncool really expected this when they sent it to me for review, but this is what we're doing. Oh man, oh, it's getting really bad. I have to like use my helmet to deflect. Oh, we're just about through. Okay, oh, yeah, we broke through. Woo, that was fun. This was no joke, man. Like, look at this. So I don't know if it's the motor's overheating or just the terrain or what. You can hear this like stuttering with the motor. If I'm going slow or even at a standstill, like, let me see if you can hear this. No, it's working fine now, but give it the beans and try to make it up this gravel. Nice. I was not expecting to enjoy riding this thing on overgrown trails like that nearly as much as I have so far. There was some stuttering with the motors as it struggled to push me through some of the brush, especially with me being as heavy as I am. Part of what made it a little bit easy, I think, is this front basket here, which is attached to the front. It does not swivel with the wheel. I think it was kind of acting like a plow and pushing a lot of the bush out of the way. So we've already done 10.7 kilometers on this thing, and the battery monitor on here isn't showing any drop in battery capacity. Now, I'm starting to get to the point where I don't believe this display. One of two things is happening. Number one, this battery display is not accurate, or two, for whatever reason, this bike is a lot more efficient than any other bike or trike that I've tested. So even down here on the battery, it's still saying, even on the battery itself, that we've got a full 4 bars. I'll touch base with you when we actually see any signs of the battery gauge losing pips here. All right, we've finally lost the first pip off of the gauge here. So we've done 16.5 kilometers so far, and it's still showing as a really high battery. So I'm really curious to see. My EBike has a 1200 watt hour battery. If I somehow manage to exceed that range on this, there is something fishy going on with my other e-bike, man. Now, this thing does not advertise itself as any sort of off-roader, but we're gonna see how it does. The only limiting factor, I think, is just the fact that it's got a weak motor. And on the gravel, it was doing fine, but as soon as it gets into like the soft silt here, it just doesn't have enough power to push me forward and gets bogged down. I wasn't expecting it to do great. I just wanted to see how it would do in the sand. Not that we're going that fast, 15 miles an hour, but I'll take this corner at speed. I've really learned how to take corners and stuff at speed. All right, let's do a little off-road action. Oh, turning tight on grass on one of these things is super sketchy. Onto the hill.
Testing out the new ride?
Something like that. We lost another pip on the battery gauge. The first pip is always the biggest. Oh man, that's a lot of fun. Remember, this range test is throttle only. We don't do pedaling here on Mike in the Woods.
It's the beat that feels just right night. Oh yeah. It's the
Down to 2 pips on the battery gauge now. Well, we've officially surpassed the 25 kilometer mark that I was going for, and we still have 2 pips on the battery gauge here. So all in, I predict that we're gonna finish this at about, I'd say 28 kilometers. That's my guess. Well, we've blown past 28 kilometers. We're now closing in on 29 kilometers, and this thing is still going, man. We're still on 2 pips on the battery. It's still got enough pep in its step that I'm not too worried about running out suddenly. Honestly, I'm surprised. This trike just won't die, man. We're at 35 kilometers and it's still going. Finally, the range test is done. Before I reveal the final range numbers, you have to keep in mind everything, all factors. So the final range that we got on this thing, 40.95 kilometers. All right, let's start with the issues that I had. The horn button, it does absolutely nothing. To remove and reattach the battery, if you have the seat bottomed out like me and my wife prefer, you have to undo the locking collar and raise the seat up, and I just wind up removing it from the tube entirely. And the biggest issue by far was that weird skipping that happens with the motor sometimes when hitting full throttle at a standstill or slow speed. I didn't really manage to capture it well on camera, but it's quite obvious when it happens. It goes away once you pick up a bit of speed or release the throttle and ease into it, but I'm worried that when it does that, it stresses the motor really hard. Now, all of that being said, this trike certainly has a lot going for it. The brakes are well tuned from the factory. I didn't have to fiddle with them at all. All of the pre-installed bolts are pretty secure. Nothing shook loose during my abuse of the trike on my test ride. The TK1 has insane cargo space between the front and the rear racks. You could pack a lot of gear on this thing, which I will get into shortly. It's even got a trailer mount in the back for even more gear. And lastly, the range I got on this thing was nothing short of incredible. Despite taking the kid gloves off during my test, I mean, you saw what I did to it. For comparison, my MOE Wild C2 with a 1200 watt-hour battery, almost twice the capacity, I only get 36 kilometers of warm weather range with that thing. And my old Super 73 with the same battery size as this trike, I barely eked out 25 kilometers. Now, if I'm being completely honest, going into making this video, I thought for sure that the range on this thing was going to be kind of crap. With me being a heavier guy, the trike itself being heavy, and the increased rolling resistance from it being a three-wheeler, I really wasn't expecting it to be much of a long-range adventure, but after that surprising range test, combined with a ton of cargo capacity and pairing it with an aftermarket fast charger like the 4-amp charger I have, I actually think this thing is going to be an absolute unit at long-distance bikepacking. My 4-amp charger will fully charge this thing from dead to full in about 2.5 to 3 hours, but where I think the TK1 really shines is in rural and remote areas. That rear cargo basket would be a nice spot to keep a few extra batteries or a big power station to go a long distance without needing to stop and charge. Like, if I keep one of my 1280 watt-hour LFP batteries from my electric raft build in there, along with a 300 watt inverter, that stretches out my theoretical range to almost 120 kilometers without having to be anywhere near an electrical outlet. Throttle only. Between the cargo racks, a trailer, and a backpack, you can pack enough gear and battery capacity to do some seriously remote, long-distance bikepacking. The only downside is that due to this trike's size, dragging it into the bush for stealth camping might be a very big hassle. So if you want to check this trike out, links are in the description and pinned comment, and you know the drill, I get a kickback if you buy it using my link. Special thanks again to Mooncool for sending me this out to review. I will see you guys in the next one.